Alright, hello, welcome to another top 10. Today I'm counting down the top 10 games of the previous decade. These games were released between 2010 and 2019. I can't believe a whole decade has gone. What the hell? I made my YouTube channel in 2009, so I've been around for a whole decade on this YouTube channel. However, I've not played every game, so if I've not played it, it can't be in my top 10. There are a few games that I've not got around to playing yet, but potentially could have made this top 10, but I've not had time or the money. There were a few games on the bubble that I could not include, but I wanted to, but it turned out that was released in 2009, like this game here. Why couldn't they just delay the game until 2010? Most games get delayed these days. How dare they? Also, I'm not including any remasters unless the original game was also released in the last decade. So although I do love Spyro Reignited Trilogy, Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy, CTR Nitro Fueled, none of them are counting in this list, unfortunately. But I do want to stick to original games only. And one final rule, no two games from the same franchise. So, with that being said, let's kick off the top 10, that's what you all want. Let's get started.
Still got a girl to find.
So, in at number 10 and kicking us off is BioShock Infinite, the third game in the BioShock series. It was released March 2013. Now then, the first two games were set underwater. For the third game, they went a bit mad and thought, you know what, let's just have a flying city. And it's just one of the best settings in a video game ever. Underwater, it was kind of a bit bland and everything looked a bit the same, so you'd always get lost. Colombia is just beautiful. It's one of the most beautiful games ever made. I love the story as well. The characters are so good. Elizabeth is possibly my favourite companion in a video game ever.
Elizabeth!
Hello! Oh, this is wonderful! Well, come dance with me, Mr. Twin.
I don't dance. Come on, let's go.
Why? What could be better than this?
So, in at number 9 is Alan Wake, released May 2010, so only just about qualifies for the top 10 of the decade. This game is a psychological thriller. It's basically a movie in a game. You watch a psychological movie thriller in the cinema and then you play this game and it's the same thing. It's so well written. Although not the scariest game ever made, it does have its scary moments. And it's got a very unique kind of gameplay where you have to flash your flashlight at the enemies and then you shoot them. Because the darkness will get you. Don't get consumed by the darkness.
Shh, baby. Just another nightmare. Everything's fine. You dozed off.
So, in at number 8 is Life is Strange, the episodical graphic adventure video game with rewind powers. That's right, you have the ability to rewind time, which is a really cool gimmick. This game was released throughout 2015. Of course, there was 5 episodes starting in January 2015 and the final episode being released in October 2015. Now, I like a wide variety of games and many people might think, oh, that's boring. But I actually enjoy these relaxed, laid-back games. Although, it's not that relaxing because there's all kinds of stuff going on. It's a very good story. I won't spoil any of the story just in case someone has not played this game, but I would highly recommend you do so just for the story alone. The gameplay is good, but there's more about the story. And as you've seen so far in my top 10, the story is the most important thing when it comes to video games, in my opinion. So, in at number 7 is Rayman Origins. That's right, we can't have a top 10 without Rayman. That would just be very naughty. This game was released November 2011. There was a big gap between this and the previous Rayman game on a console. That was not Rabbids, because they suck, yes. And we're still awaiting a potential Rayman 4, or just any Rayman on a console. I'll take any console Rayman game. I don't care if it's 3D, 2D, or even 1D. I'll take a 1D Rayman game. This game is just so beautiful. There's just something against 2D platform games which just look so beautiful. The gameplay is so fun. Oh, it's just like the original on PS1 as we go back to Rayman's Origins, and I love this game. The music, oh, so nostalgic about this. What a great fun game to play. And Rayman doesn't suck, no. So, in at number 6 is the Beynon of Isaac Rebirth. Released November 2014, it's a top-down roguelike game. It's randomly generated, which makes it very replayable. I always come back to this game. It's definitely my most played game of the decade, because it's just got endless replayability. You can play a run, and it could be 100% different to the next run because of the amount of items. There are so many items in the game. Some people say this is very hard, and admittedly, when you first start playing this game, it's very tough. The more you play and the more items you unlock and the more challenges you do, the better items you unlock and the easier it becomes. You learn as you go. You have no idea what some items do until you use it, and then it probably will kill you. This game was also made by Edmund Macmillan, who also made Super Meat Boy, which is one of the most frustrating games of the decade. Naughty man. Edmund Macmillan is the naughtiest man of the decade for making Super Meat Boy. That game is very ragey. So, in at number 5 is Noire, the detective video game, published by Rockstar Games, May 2011. Now you may think asking questions, looking for clues and walking about may sound very boring, but it's actually very exciting. The game also has a lot of action scenes with guns and stuff, which I'm not the hugest fan of, but I can see why they added them, because maybe just asking a few questions and people making derp faces is not as entertaining for everyone. It was for me though. I loved this game. I loved driving through LA in the 1940s, loved all the 1940s cars. It's such a big map as well. I could just drive around all day and have a lovely time. Cole Phelps, a very good character as well. Without spoiling anything, he's a very interesting individual. The game is very well written. I love all the cases.
You weren't at the window. You were in the bar. What's a young girl like you doing alone in the bar?
That's a goddamn lie.
To my father's black card, to my black card.
So, in at number 4 is Far Cry 3, part of the long-running Far Cry series. This was released November 2012, developed and published by Ubisoft. Of course, well known for their open world games. This is definitely my favourite open world game by Ubisoft. Go away, Watch Dogs. No. Actually, Watch Dogs was alright. But Watch Dogs is not in the top 10, by the way. Dearie me. Back to more Far Cry. I should be talking about that game, considering it's in my top 10. I just loved going through the island. I loved searching. I loved doing the outposts. I loved the radio towers. And Vaas is one of my favourite all-time villains. Great voice acting from his voice actor, whose name I don't quite remember. I should search that up, but I'm very bad at this type of stuff. But yes, Far Cry 3. My favourite Far Cry game.
Get to the highway! What? Go! You got Sarah! I can outrun him!
Uncle Tommy?
I will meet you there! Hurry!
Daddy, we can't leave him!
So, in at number 3 is The Last of Us. This might be a surprise that it's not number 1, because I bet quite a few people out there will have it as their number 1 of the decade. Of course, released 2013 as a Sony Computer Entertainment exclusive for PlayStation. Luckily for me, it was released on PlayStation 4 a year later, which is when I did play it. But it still counts on this list because the original release was 2013. What a great story this game has. This definitely has the best story of any game of the decade. I just loved it. There are a few weaknesses in the gameplay that I didn't enjoy that much, but the story alone makes it definitely a top 10 game. I loved all the characters. And of course, The Last of Us 2 coming out next year. Will that also be one of the games of the next decade? Who knows? But for now, definitely number 3.
Hi. So, how are you holding up? Because I'm a potato.
So, in at number 2 is Portal 2, the puzzle platform game developed by Valve. Released April 2011. Now, I'm not usually the biggest fan of puzzle games because I like to get a bit stuck. And I did get stuck a few times on this game, but this one is so relaxing. I feel like I got as much time as possible. I'll get to the solution eventually. I didn't look up any of them online at all. No, I found them out all by myself. But yes, this game's humour is so great. Of course, Stephen Merchant playing Wheatley. It's just such fun. The comedy and the writing is brilliant. I thoroughly enjoyed this game. Even though I did get a bit stuck a few times. Oh no. But yes, number 2 in the list. However, we do have a few honourable mentions. I say a few, we've got a lot of honourable mentions. We'll get through them right now.
Do you understand what I'm saying at all? Does any of this make any sense? Just tell me, just say yes. Okay, what you're doing there is jumping. You just jumped. But never mind, say apple. Apple. Okay, you know what? That's close enough. Just hold tight.
This is Vicky Vale reporting live from Arkham City, the controversial super prison built right here in the heart of Gotham.
Here I come. Ready or not, I've blown someone up, I think. Punch it into the goal. Yes!
Yep. It's still dead. Yet to be seen, Sergeant.
So, in at number 1, and my favourite game from the last decade is Red Dead Redemption, the Western action-adventure game developed by Rockstar Games, released May 2010, so right at the start of the decade. The decade did get off to a very good start with this game. I prefer this over GTA any day of the week. As you can tell, there was no GTA 5 in this top 10. Was that controversial? I'm not sure. But yes, I just love the setting of the Western is so much better than a city. I love riding my horse. I love all the characters. Oh, it's such a good game. I could play it over and over and over again. Such a great game. I can't say it enough. But yes, that was the top 10 of the last decade. I hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know your favourite games from the past decade in the comments. And for now, that's the end. So take care and leave me alone.